All right, Hoffberg video. The intent of this video is for those that are feeling this is a good video if you're thinking about it's time to embrace a challenge. And I want to give you language on that I think is helpful. And the language is, don't back off. No backing off in your attitude. No backing off in your mindset. No backing off in the way that you'll proceed. Don't back off. And it's important sometimes that we're coming at the challenge thinking about it that way. So if I'm not backing off, that means that I'm going to keep on coming. That I'm not letting up. And there's going to be no let up in my game. So if you have a challenge that you're embracing, let's think about what it means, like not to back off. I took some notes here. I think, these are the points in the journey where you're an individual, just that you need to think like this, or whether you're an organization, a team that needs to think like this. This is the point in the journey where we're thinking thoughts that sound like this. I'm not backing off right now. I'm not backing off now. I'm not going to let up here at all. I'm not just going to call this in and roll over and think that this doesn't matter and think that I don't matter and think that somehow it's going to be okay for me, to back off here. I'm not backing off. I'm going to keep on coming here. I'm not backing off even just a little bit. And so that's good. That's a way to think. And at times you need to feel like really declared about that. And what does that feel like? If you're in a not back off sort of attitude, then there's something in front of you that matters to you. There's something going on in terms of like attitude. So I wrote, if you're thinking this attitude, this I'm not backing off attitude, right now that what's going on is that there's something in front of you that it needs to challenge, that you need to feel challenged, like fully challenged by it. And the challenge needs to be fully embraced. So let's just say maybe like you're a hockey team right now and there's a challenge in front of you. There's games coming up that are right in front of you. And what we need to do is that we need to be certain that we're not going to back off. And we see that. And we know that we need to work on that. So this is how we're going to do it. So first of all, we need to think about like, why aren't we backing off here? Why are we not just going to roll over? Why are we going to go and take on this challenge? Like what's the why there? What's going on? And I think the first answer on that is that, I don't like what it says about me if I don't. I don't like what it says about me if I don't. And I think that maybe that's the most important answer. And that's what we want to think about. I think that the other thing that's important about, any spot where you're in like the don't back off, attitude, when you're in that mode where like, I can't back off here. This is character time. I need to embrace this challenge. I need to go after this. I think that, these are the times where you only develop this skill and this ability and this level of character by doing it. So anytime that you're in like a don't back off moment, anytime that there's a challenge in front of you. So if like you're a hockey team and there's some games in front of you, coming up right now, and it really is important that we know that we didn't back off here. We have to do that because if we don't do that, what does that say about us? And we have to do that where, like, if I'm the hockey coach, I'm saying to this hockey team, boys, this is where we embrace the opportunity to grow this muscle, the don't back off muscle, because no matter who we are now or no matter who we want to be in the future, this is a muscle that gets developed by activating the muscle. So let's not miss this opportunity here, right? To build this muscle, to build this character, to become people, that won't back off. I wrote, these moments make us who we are. And if you're an athlete, your don't back off moments are usually very clear. So be happy about that. Life isn't always so clear. If it's on and you can see that it's on, you got to go for it and not back off. And so, for instance, in athletics, it's easier sometimes for like that hockey team to see these hockey games in front of us are don't back off moments than it is in life in other areas, where it's harder to determine that. But we know when it's there and we know when it's on. And when it's on, go for it and build that muscle through the opportunity to experience what you're about to experience because you didn't back off. So I've got some things here that will be instructions for you as to how to really leverage the don't back off mentality, that attitude. So when it's no backing off time, there's things that you need to do. And the first thing is that focus on your story. So like say it's this hockey team again that's got big games in front of it. Like what's this story going to be about? What's this story going to be about in this weekend's games and these games coming up? And we need to know that we create our story. We got games coming up, right? What's this story going to be about? So I have some examples here. Is this story going to be about being determined and confident? And because of how we're determined and confident, that we're able to look back on the way that we played in these games, when the games become the past and we're looking back on them and we say, you know what, that team right there was determined and confident. That team didn't back off. If people are watching us play as a team, or watching you play as a player, do they feel like, wow, there's no backing off in their game? There's no backing off in his game. Are they talking about the pride that you take in competing? Is that what they're saying? Is that what it means when you're not backing off? Is that what this is going to be a story about? The pride that this hockey team took in just competing and they didn't back off? Is it about a team that decides to stick together more than ever and play as one? Is that what it means not to back off? Is it about deciding that there's a hard mountain to climb that's in front of us and realizing that it isn't a story of the view at the top, it's a story of the climb. That's not backing off. And you know what this story is about? This story is about a hard climb that people took on together, that this team took on together, and they embraced the climb. They wanted the climb, not just the view. They wanted the climb. They wanted it to be hard. So what is this going to be about? Recognize your story so that you can not back off. Number two, after you recognize your story and create your story and get some good words on that story, the next thing is you got to declare what you're going to contribute. You need to know what you're going to do that make you into that player that when people watch you, and they watch you play, what they say is, well, there sure isn't any backing off in his game, right? So what will you contribute? What's going to make them say that? What do you plan to contribute here that's going to make people say there was no backing off in their game. There was no letting up at all. And then I think that the last thing that you need to do is you need to say, I'm in, to being someone that's just going to leave it all out there. Because if you don't back off, then you've left it all out there. And I love that saying in hockey, leave it all out on the ice tonight. Leave it all out there. Empty the tanks, right? Let's do that, right? And say I'm into that. I wrote here, don't back off. Step up. Be that player. Go after it. Go after the feeling of knowing that you didn't hold back. Don't miss these chances in life. This is where you make certain you show up right now, in this moment, in front of this challenge, to these games. Don't back off. This is where you make certain you show up. Don't back off. The challenge is right there in front of you. Embrace it. Go for it. Don't back off. Empty the tanks. Leave it all out there in these games coming up. Be that player. Be that team. Don't back off. Embrace this challenge. Know what you'll contribute. Create your story. Don't back off. I hope this helps. Cheers.